All right, we are live. Unless you're watching this delayed, in which case we're not live. Hopefully I'm still alive, but the way Trump is treating us, it's low probability. So we are going to take a look tonight at the ABC interview with Donald Trump. This happened today in Arizona. Trump left Washington, flew to Arizona, spoke at the Honeywell factory where they're making N95 masks, had a rally of sorts, praised himself a lot, had a lot of other people come up and praise him. So the Trump rallies are back on, folks. They're just not in stadiums. They're at American businesses now. So I'm going to spend a second here looking to see in the chat room, see if people are ready to go. And as soon as I see someone say that they're ready to go, we're going to get going with this. So this was tonight on ABC News, World News Tonight. Yes, World News Tonight. That's David Weir or Peter Weir? I can't remember. I think it's David. So David asked some good questions. You'll see that. I listened to it when I was out walking tonight. And not a lot of follow-up, unfortunately. And we're going to go in depth on some of the stuff that Trump has said. He's so easy to predict because he comes up with these ideas or concepts that he's misunderstood from something that's been told to him, and then he just keeps pushing them. Let's see, check all the audio levels. And as soon as I see that someone is in the chat room, if you're joining us and you're having trouble chatting, you can't click on this chat window right here. This is the chat window. Here's somebody from YouTube. Here's somebody from Twitter. Here's somebody from, let's see, Periscope. And Facebook is on there as well. So you can't click on the window that you see on your screen. You should be able to do it on the platform that you're using. The easiest one that people are having the best time with is YouTube because whatever, on the phone or on the computer, it's there. Okay, so somebody just said something. Okay, Stephanie's here. She's one of my patrons. If you'd like to be like Stephanie, she's just mentioned down there in the scroll. There she goes. Stephanie, bye. Bye, Rodney. If you'd like to be mentioned on the broadcast, help sponsor the videos, help me do the kind of thing that I want to do to fight all of this nonsense that we're going through. You know, back in 2016, I was saying, look, if we put Trump in charge and there's a disaster, he's going to end up killing Americans. 70,000 dead. And I wasn't the only one. And at the time, oh, come on, you're not going to... Today, he goes over a little bit about testing, and that's exactly how he has killed so many Americans. We'll take a look at that moving forward. Okay, we're going to get going here. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, anybody else. If you'd like to be a sponsor, you can. Just go to KevinlyFather.com. I'm starting to lose my voice. I should have started this after I got a drink. I don't even know what the drinking game is going to be tonight. Every time Trump says the truth, take a drink. You're going to be very thirsty by the end of this. All right, here we go. David Muir, that's who it is, not Peter. Sorry, Peter Alexander's on NBC. Let's go.
I want to start with reopening the country. I know this is your first trip back out into the country in quite some time. And you've said that the decision to open the economy is the biggest decision I've ever had to make. How do you, and I suppose this is the central question, how do you save livelihoods without risking more lives?
Well, I think actually the decision to close the country was the biggest decision I've ever had to make. And
he didn't close the country.
Very loud and clear. I mean, we had the greatest economy in history, in the history of the world. Not only our economy, it was our greatest economy. Best employment numbers, best numbers in every single way.
That's not true at all.
Sir, we have to...
So our numbers were pathetic, actually. We had a good economy in terms of the number of jobs out there. But we had a 2.1% GDP when earlier Trump had bragged about going to 3, 4, 5%. He didn't see a reason why it couldn't go to 6%. We were at 2.1. Even over the last year, that's just the last quarter. Over the last year, we were at 2.3. So the GDP was falling, and that was a result directly of his tax cuts, which also gave us a $1 trillion deficit. Since Obama's left, Trump has raised the deficit by 50%. And I see Eric here asked a question. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Should all politicians wear masks when they are on official business? No, it depends on the situation. So there's very few black and white answers here. We can see right here that Trump is sitting farther than 6 feet from David Muir. That's fine. They don't need to be wearing masks in that situation from the science that we currently know. We believe that sitting that far apart, you're not going to spread the virus unless you sneeze violently at the other person. And I doubt that's going to happen here. Let's move on.
close the country. I said, what are you talking about, close the country? Because nobody's ever heard of such a thing. And we saved millions of lives by doing it. And by putting the ban
again,
on China,
he did not close
big thing, but
anything.
The biggest decision I've ever had to make is closing
the governors
country.
did.
And certainly this is now also a big decision, but the people want to go back to work.
I want to ask you about what Dr. Fauci said last night about the reopening of the country. He said it's the balance of something that's a very difficult choice. How many deaths and how much suffering are you willing to accept to get back where you want to be? Do you see it that way? Do you believe that's the reality we're facing, that lives will be lost to reopen the country?
It's possible there will be some, because you won't be locked into an apartment or a house or whatever it is, but...
Okay, the ABC really built this up. Oh, he talked very candidly about whether we're going to lose lives. No, he didn't. He said it's possible we're going to lose it. I don't know, which is the way he's been all along. Maybe it'll get a little bigger. Maybe it won't get bigger. There's no way to tell. Whereas all the doctors, all the scientists, all the humans really were saying, yeah, this is going to get a lot bigger. So that was when we had 15 cases. Or the 15 that he was counting, because he wouldn't count the ones coming back, the Americans who came back from the Diamond Princess. Hey, Luke, I miss you guys too. I love you guys, and I want to get out there and play hockey, so fingers crossed. Oh, there, Amanda just said that. So, yeah. Now I've totally lost thought. I just want to go play hockey, people. I just want to go outside and play. So, yeah, we play hockey with Luke. He's a great guy. He's insane because he's a goaltender. Anyway, everyone was saying that things were going to get worse, and he was just non-committal. He was committal when he said he was saying some definitive things like this.
Anybody that wants it, that's what I would just say that we...
I hope you guys could hear that. That was anybody who wants a test can get a test. I can't hear those things in my ears. I'm trying to still work that out. Okay, so moving on here.
At the same time, we're going to practice social distancing. We're going to be washing hands. We're going to be doing a lot of the things that we've learned to do over the last period of time. And we have to get our country back. You know, people are dying the other way, too. When you look at what's happened with drugs, it goes up. When you look at suicides, I mean, take a look at what's going on. People are losing their jobs. We have to bring it back, and that's what we're...
Okay, he's been going on about this, and he's actually correct that, yes, during a depression, when people become unemployed, a certain number of people commit suicide, and that's terrible. There was a study the last time around that showed during the 2008, 2009, 2010 recession, an additional 10,000 people committed suicide, which is terrible. And that's across North America and Europe. So basically Western civilization. An additional 10,000 people. But here's the thing. With the virus, we're already at 70,000. And the new projections are ramping that up again because we're sending people back out to catch the virus. Regardless of whether we're washing hands or not, people make mistakes, and it's an invisible enemy. He knows that. Anyway, the other part of the study, people will sometimes say, oh, an additional 300,000 people died because they were killed by cancer. Yes, more people died in the last recession because of cancer and other diseases. But here's the thing. When you take out the countries that have universal health care, there's no difference because people don't stop going to the doctor. When you get a condition, when you feel a lump or you don't feel a lump or you don't go for your physical or whatever, diseases have a chance to grow until it's too late. Now you're at stage 4, stage 5, and you die. But if you have universal health care in a company, listen to me, Trump calls them companies. In a country, you still go to the doctor. You don't worry about the medical bills. And so, I mean, people worry about medical bills when they don't have a job. And right now we're looking at about 20% unemployment, thereabouts. We'll see what happens.
We're doing.
Let me ask you about testing.
Yeah.
Right now in America. You know, early on there were hurdles. Dr. Fauci at the time acknowledged it was a failing. But for Americans who do want to go back to work, should they be able to have access to a test now? Should they know whether they've been exposed to the virus? Should they know if somebody's at the workplace asymptomatic and they simply don't know? Or do they have to go back to work having faith in their leaders and you, Mr. President, that the workplace will be safe?
Yeah. No, they don't. They have to test if they want. You know, some people are strong believers in testing.
So right now, for any American worker who's nervous about going back, if they want to get tested to see if they've been exposed to
Trump's
the virus,
pulling out a paper, you can hear
they
it.
can have access to both.
He's had this paper with him all day.
And they should have no problem. And as good as this is, we're even
Okay, let me talk about testing. Right now, Kevinly's daughter has had a sinus headache for 4 days. We're in Seattle, where the virus started. She just spent time with some people who've both tested negative, one of them twice. One of them had symptoms. Kevinly's son, also sick. But here's the thing. I called around today, and it is very difficult to get a test. The only way you can get a test now is to go see make a doctor's appointment, they're backed up. You have to go see the doctor. This is in Seattle, and Washington is doing one of the best jobs testing. You have to go see the doctor, and the doctor has to refer you. You can't just go to one of the drive-through testing places that were being bragged about back at the beginning. Oh, they're going to be in all the CVS's and the Walmarts. And no, you still have difficulty getting tested. And I know Washington is one of the best states for getting tested. And I've talked to so many of you who have symptoms, and there's just no shot at getting testing. And but there we are with the testing. But wait, he's got his little testing paper. He likes to pull out pieces of paper because, that works on television. See? There's all the information. You can totally read it. See it? Nobody should be allowed to do that and be in charge of anything. Here we go.
Better. We came up, don't forget, the cupboard was bare. The other administration, the last administration, left us nothing. We didn't have ventilators. We didn't have medical equipment.
Okay, complete lie. I'm going to play this for you. We had plenty of ventilators. The last administration left us a bunch of ventilators. Here's Seema Verma. She is on the president's task force for coronavirus. Again, Trump just says things, and they're complete falsehoods. I don't like calling them falsehoods. They're lies. Trump lies to you. He's blaming Obama for leaving an empty cupboard, and here's his own administration.
So one of the things that we have to prepare for situations like this is a stockpile. And there's over 12, almost 13,000 ventilators that we have, so that if communities, hospitals, other organizations, need to have these ventilators, we can ship that out to them. So
12 to 13,000 ventilators. So no cupboards were bare.
We didn't have testing. The tests were broken. You saw that. We had broken tests. They left us nothing. And we've taken...
Obama didn't leave Trump broken tests for the coronavirus. Well, maybe he did. I don't know. But in Obama's defense, it's really difficult to invent a test for a virus that won't exist for another 3 years.
And we have built an incredible stockpile, a stockpile like we've never had before.
Many people have heard you say that along the way and have wondered, though, you're 3 years into your first term.
Yeah.
You're now applying for the job again. What did you do when you became president?
All this time, you can see he just put the paper away, didn't reference, and then now he's taking it out again because he likes to touch paper in his pocket. Or Q-tips. You probably saw the Schwabs.
And to restock those cupboards that you say were bare.
Well, I'll be honest, I have a lot of things going on. We had a lot of people that refused to allow the country to be successful.
His responsibility was to rebuild the stockpile, but he was busy with Russia.
Then they did Ukraine, and that was a total hoax. Then they impeached the President of the United States for absolutely no reason, and we even had...
Nothing he could have done. All that time he spent in front of the House and the Senate testifying. Oh, he never did. Anyway, yeah, I know he didn't replenish the stockpiles.
197 to nothing vote by the Republicans.
Let me ask you about something Governor Cuomo said today.
He always does that. 197 votes from the Republicans. So he thinks he won. Look, we scored 6 field goals. And that was just our team. Now, the other team had 4 touchdowns. But really, 6 field goals, we won the game. We're the Super Bowl champions.
And this is really the debate, I think, for a lot of Americans who really do want to go back to work.
Sure.
But who are afraid for their own health. And Governor Cuomo said the question comes down to how much a human life is worth. That you monitor the transmission rate, the hospitalization rate, the death rate. If it goes up, you stop. You turn off the valve. You slow things down. Do you agree with him that that is the way a lot of these governors who are reopening should proceed?
No, I don't know. I'd have to see his full statement. Look, we've gotten along very well. Don't forget, Governor Cuomo last week said the president and the federal government have done a phenomenal job. He said that.
Yeah, he's saying now that you just have to be ready to turn the valve off for a time if you see a spike.
Not really answering the question. Cuomo was talking about mitigation. Of course, Trump goes to, he said I did a phenomenal job. He praised me. Why aren't we talking about...
But I can only tell you what he said last week. Our country
He's 5.
has to go back to being our country again. You have people
still
that are
my
not
country.
Going to stand for this, and I understand them very well. And we are going to put out little embers and little fires and maybe some big fires, but we still...
He keeps talking about the virus like it's some kind of fire, that there's embers all over the place. You can't put out a fire when you don't have water. There's no vaccine for this thing. We don't even have a hose. We don't have dirt. We don't have any sort of therapy for this to treat the virus.
We'll have to go back to work.
You talk about the embers and the possible big fires. There were 2 new studies out in the last 24 hours. I know that the White House has shot down a couple of them, saying they weren't vetted through your task force. One was from Johns Hopkins that said the death rate could double if we're not careful with this reopening of America by June, the daily death rate. The University of Washington saying we could have 135,000 Americans dead by August.
This is the University of Washington site right here.
Mr. President?
A couple of things. First of all, these models have been so wrong from day one, both on the low side and the upside. They've been so wrong. They've been so out of whack.
Models give you a range.
New models, and they're wrong. Those models that you're mentioning are talking about without mitigation. Well, we're mitigating, and we've learned to mitigate.
No. The models talk about mitigation. The models are changing because A, we've got more dead, and B, states are mitigating. And so the University of Washington, the IHME, which stands for the International Health, doesn't want to get the coronavirus. They change their model every few days because things change. Their original model was based on the concept that the governors were going to keep the states closed and social distancing would still be intact. Not, hey, let's go get tattoos.
But we can be in place, work in place, and also mitigate. We've done it right. But now we have to get back to work. We have to do it.
But let me ask you, because you've responded to those 2 new studies out with these forecasts. Your own numbers have shifted over time.
They have.
You said 60,000 Americans could die. That's what you said last week. I watched your town hall over the weekend. You said 75, 80 to 100,000 people could die. Which models are you looking at? And what should Americans be prepared for as we reopen the country and head into the fall where we could see a potential second wave?
Well, the upper number was, as you know, 2.2 million people. And then there are some...
That's if you did nothing.
Some models or charts that showed higher than that. But 2.2 million people. I always felt 60, 65, 70, as horrible as that is. I mean, you're talking about filling up Yankee Stadium with death. So I thought it was horrible, but it's...
He always thought that 60 to 70,000 people. I don't know that that's true.
When you have 15 to 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to 0. That's a pretty good job we've done.
Is 70,000 close to 0? Is that... I mean, there's a lot of zeros in 70,000.
Probably going to be somewhat higher than that.
Are you still convinced we'll have a...
It's probably going to be somewhat higher. Yeah, we're already higher than 70,000. This is just today. We had already breached the 70,000 mark.
Vaccine by year's end and 300 million doses, which you had spoken of?
You can never be convinced. When you
Bye,
say,
Luke.
am I convinced? I can say this. We're doing really great. Oxford, Johnson & Johnson, these companies, and I get reports every single day. They're doing really great. Am I convinced? I can't be convinced of anything. But I think that we have a really good shot of having something very, very substantial.
Let me ask you about the tremendous hurt in this country. There are 30 million Americans who are unemployed. You don't need me to tell you that. We're expecting the new unemployment rate this week. There have been forecasts 15, 16, 17%.
That's actually a good tactic by journalists. They'll sometimes phrase the question saying something that Trump will deny, but then praising his knowledge. You're the worst president of all time. You don't need me to tell you that. You're a smart guy. You already know that. No one said that, but honestly, if I was a reporter, I'd try.
One of your advisors projected an unemployment rate of 19%. That's nearly 1 in 5 Americans without a job. How bad is this going to get?
Well, that is what it is. And, you know,
Okay.
It's very interesting. Even the Democrats aren't blaming me for that. We had to close it up, and we saved millions of lives, and we did the right thing. Now we're getting back to work. The third quarter, I think, is going to be, I call it a transition quarter. A lot of people, you see it. I tell you what, I got on the plane today. There was such spirit. People are starting to feel. We land in Arizona. I leave from D.C. I get calls from everybody all over the country. I just spoke to the governor of Florida. Florida is really active.
I think a lot of people share that hope, Mr. President, but the reality for so many of the families that we've reported on is they can't afford to wait for the next quarter. They're just trying to get through next week or the next dinner they put on the table.
Well, we've done a lot for that, though. We've done our small business, as you know, our PPP, paycheck, if you want to call it that.
If you lost your job, you're not getting a paycheck.
Where small businesses are given billions of dollars so that they can take care of their employees. We've done a lot of other. Look, we've done $2 trillion, and it's actually close to 3 if you really add it up, but $2 trillion has been approved, and we'll probably do more. It's a stimulus. It's to keep people employed, to keep small businesses open.
Let me ask you, because people will look back.
They cut that
and
too.
we have an election 6 months from now. They're going to look back to the beginning of this, and they're going to wonder what you knew and when you knew it. And I have no interest in going back over everything you said, but there was one thing you said that perhaps you could clarify. You said this was at the end of February. A full month had gone by. You'd stopped travel from.
Stephanie, you still haven't gotten your $1,200 check. Have you gone on to the IRS site and checked on it? I did for KevinlyFather, and it broke it. It doesn't give me any information about her. I got mine.
China. And you said of the cases here in the U.S., when you have 15 people, and when the 15 within a couple of days is going to go down to 0,
we just saw that.
That's a pretty good job we've done. Help me understand that moment. Did you really think we were going to have 15 cases in the U.S.?
So let me. I said you would say worse than that. I said one person one time, and it's true. There was a time when we had one person in this country. We knew about it. We worked on it, but we had one person. It mushroomed. The 15 people mushroomed. Other people were coming in also from Europe. Don't forget.
But we're at more than 1 million
cases now. But don't forget, in January.
So he kind of just admitted that he should have done something about Europe as well.
Okay, let's talk about cases. You know why you're at 1 million cases? Because we have more testing than anybody else.
Oh, here we go.
We tested as much as these countries down here, okay, who don't do very much testing at all.
Oh, that shows us the
Japan,
paper for half a second and then turns it around.
Bottom of the rung. Look at South
I'm going to show
Korea.
you what
Gets
he's
so
showing
much
us there.
publicity. The president of South Korea is a friend of mine. President Moon, he called up, he said, what you're doing with testing is amazing. If I tested this number of people instead of this number of people, I'd have far fewer.
Okay, reporters, if any reporter is watching this, when he starts going off about we've got more tests, so therefore we have more positive cases, ask him about the deaths, because we are way ahead of everybody in deaths. We're double England, we're double Italy. I think I actually have that somewhere. Yeah, right here. So 71,000 deaths. United Kingdom is 30. Italy is 29. Spain is 25. It doesn't matter how many tests you've given. It's the deaths. So you have that many cases. That's a real number. Now, there's no telling how many people actually died in China from the virus, but they locked things down. They locked up 13 million people, not just like, oh, try not to go on a cruise ship sort of lockdown. They had an actual, you don't leave your apartment, and we're going to come by, and we're going to take your temperature, and if you've got symptoms, we're pulling you out of there. We're isolating you. They did a real isolation. Quarantine/isolation. I know they're different in terms of medical. I sound like Trump. So let's go to what he was talking about right there. Now, he was using something that was even better. Let's do this to start with. He was talking about this graph right here, but he was using it with many more countries. And you can go on, this is our world in data if you want to do it, and you can add countries to it, so you can throw on Bolivia or whatever. And now there's going to be a graph line there for Bolivia. So the important things to look at right now are the United States, with this is way up here, 7 million tests, and South Korea. They've only done 633 million tests. But here's the thing. This is when the virus was spreading itself around. Okay? I'm going to get even closer here. Take a look at this. Way back in February 20th, South Korea had already tested 12,000 people. Now, keep in mind, we got the virus on the same day. The first case was discovered on the same day, and they started to ramp up at about the same pace as the United States and South Korea. But South Korea had tests, and they were able to take the people that had the disease, isolate them, asymptomatic or not, and pay them to stay home. There was no, oh boy, I got to keep going to work because I got to feed my family. You need to not kill your family, and we're going to pay your paycheck while you're in isolation. Plus, everybody there has health insurance, so go get tested. There were drive-through testings there back in February. And let's look at the beginning part right here. So let's go up into March. March 4th, South Korea, 136,000 tests already. Moving forward to the 7th, South Korea, 180,000 tests. The United States was only on 3. Why? Because the CDC screwed up the testing. They contaminated the tests. First off, they took a long time to get them out there. They could have just taken the tests from the WHO, the World Health Organization. Now, they can say, well, we didn't deny the test. No, because that's not the way that works. The WHO comes up with a test. Other countries come up with tests. And typically what happens is you ask the WHO, hey, can we have some of those tests? Yeah, sure. Here's the test. Here's the formula. Have at it. Typically, the CDC decides to make their own tests, and that's what they did in this case. But of course, because it's Trump's CDC, they screwed it up royally. And because of that, all this time at the beginning, remember, we got the virus the same day as South Korea, all this time at the beginning, this month and a half that was wasted, almost 2 months wasted, the virus was growing. So if I was to overlay the deaths on here and the virus cases on here, you'd see the same ramp. South Korea, in the meantime, kept it mitigated, controlled, contained, hasn't gone nuts with the tests, even as of a couple of days ago. Let's see. No, today. So only less than 1 million tests in South Korea. Now, yes, they have fewer cases than us, and yes, they have fewer deaths than us, only about 250 the last time I looked. But even if you multiply that to make the population even, you're still only talking about 1,600 deaths in South Korea compared to 70,000 here. And what's going on in South Korea? Well, they never had to lock things down. They closed schools and stuff like that, but they never said, we're shutting all the businesses down. They were just careful. And now, South Korea, they're playing baseball again. So if you're on ESPN, you can watch the South Korean Baseball League on ESPN.
See, this line goes all the way up, over 7 million tests. If I tested down here at 1 million tests, I would have a lot fewer cases too.
I understand the argument you're making.
But look at your question.
No, but you understand
but
there's
the
a huge disparity between 15 and more than 1 million cases. What was it, an intelligence fail?
Even if people aren't getting tested to see if they have the virus in the first place, post-mortem, bodies are getting tested around the world. So death counts are actually much more of an indicator of where you are as a country. We can take a look at ours. It's pretty bad, actually. I think I was looking at that just a little while ago. Testing, deaths. Hold on, there's the last 14 days. Yeah, this is it right here. We're opening up most of the country. I'm going to let you guys see that better. Right here. Confirmed cases. This is 2 weeks ago. We're up 40% in new cases in the last 2 weeks, and we're opening the country up. That is insanity. That is absolute insanity. 2 weeks ago, we had 869 positives. Now we're at 1.2 million. That's a 40% increase in the last 2 weeks. That's insane. Deaths up 42.8. Now that's a lagging indicator. So theoretically, that's going to slow down after the new cases. But the new cases haven't really slowed down. Remember, it's like, oh, we got to get to the top of the curve and then start going down. We're not. 40% in the last 2 weeks. I'm ornery tonight. Who wants to have a fight? Let's go. Bring it.
Failure. Where was the breakdown that we didn't know the scope of this?
Look, let me tell you this. I closed the border, if you want to use that term.
I don't.
I banned people from coming into China. There were
He didn't ban anybody from coming into China. He banned Chinese from coming into our country. Nobody got banned going into China. He just talks. When you get him defensive, words just come out. He says something and then covers it up with verbal kitty litter.
Approximately 40,000 Americans. If you were in my position, you would let them come in. You could ask Ron DeSantis, great governor of Florida. Those people went through quarantine, they went through tests, they went through everything, but they were American citizens. I had to let them go.
There was no procedure for testing these people. And how do we know that? A, because we were alive and remember that, but we can go back to the chart. Remember, let's go back to, remember the ban, he says January, it was actually February 2nd at 5 p.m. Here's February 20th. The U.S. isn't even on the testing chart yet. This is back when we were doing like 12 a day. We weren't testing 40,000 people. In fact, as of the 7th of March, and that's a complete 28, 29, 23, so 32 days after the travel ban, we'd only tested 3,700 people. 40,000 people came back. It's just a lie, and it's provable.
Come back in. But I came in, and what I did is I said against many people, including Anthony Fauci, who I like very much, including Deborah, who I like very much, the doctors, and many other people. They said, don't ban China. It's going to blow over. And they said...
Deborah was in South Africa when he banned China. She didn't come back. Remember, she wasn't around, and then suddenly she was, oh, she's here. She's going to say, she wasn't even there. She never said, don't ban China.
This at the end of February. Now,
hold on.
Many
Listen
people,
to what he just said.
Including Anthony Fauci, who I like very much, including Deborah, who I like very much, the doctors, and many other people. They said, don't ban China. It's going to blow over. And they said this at the end of February. Now,
so they said don't ban China at the end of February. He banned China at the end of January.
At the same time, I want to be optimistic. I don't want to be Mr. Gloom and Doom. It's a very bad subject. I'm not looking to tell the American people when nobody really knows what's happening yet, oh, this is going to be so tragic.
We know what's happening.
I want to be, aside from everything else, and I'm going to use a term, and some people love it, and some people hate it, but I love it. I want to be a cheerleader for our country.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you one more question about the new...
Oh, it's going to be a terrible... I actually saw this question already. It's a nonsense question. Yeah, he did. Rich, he said it would all blow over. He said it would be close to zero. He said it would go away like a miracle. He did this a lot. This is what he thinks the curve looks like. Actually, I have to do that over here. Like that. Yeah, like that. He splays his hand, and then he goes like that. That's how a graph looks to Trump. And he said it was going to blow over. And, of course, he said it was going to go away in April with the warm weather. And April's an important date, which then he later denied and said, I never said a date. But he said April multiple times. Somewhere on my timeline, I put together a montage of all the times he said that April would come around and it would get warm. And like a miracle, it would go away.
Nearly 70.
Oh, by the way, that testing chart that he keeps holding up, that... He's been calling that a miracle. That the number of tests we're giving out is now a miracle.
1,000 Americans whose lives have been lost.
Okay, here's a softball.
Grandparents, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Right. We've lost more people now than we lost in the Vietnam War. What do you want to say to those families tonight?
I want to say I love you. Oh. I want to say that we're doing everything we can. I also want to say that we're trying to protect people over 60 years old. We're trying so hard. And I want to just say to the people that have lost family and have lost loved ones, and the people that have just suffered so badly and just made it, that we love you, we're with you, we're working with you, we're supplying vast amounts of money like never before. We want that money to get to the people, and we want them to get better. And we want them, you can never really come close to replacing when you've lost some. No matter how well we do next year, I think our economy is going to be
even if the economy is great, it's not going to bring back debt.
No matter how well those people can never ever replace somebody they love.
He told the truth. Drink up, everybody.
But we're going to have something that they're going to be very proud of. And to the people that have lost someone, there is nobody, I don't sleep at nights thinking about it. There is nobody that's taken it harder than me. But at the same time, I have to get this enemy defeated. And that's what we're doing, David. That's what we're doing.
Okay, so nobody's taking it harder than him. At the same time, we have to defeat the enemy. The best way to defeat the enemy? Don't open up the country. Look at what New Zealand did. They shut the place down. They already had it, and it grew. quite quickly in New Zealand. But they're smart in New Zealand. Remember, they're the people that had like a mass shooting, and they're like, okay, that's it. No more assault rifles. Solved within a couple of days. And on this, they said, okay, nobody else is coming into the country, only New Zealand citizens and residents. You guys stay here. Nobody go anywhere. Shutting down businesses, only essentials. And now they don't have the virus anymore. I mean, they still have cases in the hospital, blah, blah, but you know what I'm saying. So every once in a while, there's someone who like will send me a tweet saying, like, you said they don't have the, look at this. It's like, yeah, those are new cases from outside the country. Anyway, so New Zealand's did a great job with it, but there's so many sentences. I should put together a montage at some point where Trump starts the sentence and ends it in the complete opposite. You know, my favorite color is black, which is why my favorite color is white. Okay, honestly, we all know his favorite color is white. And you know what I'm talking about. My voice is gone. I'm out of voice. I'm out of Trump. David did a pretty good job with the interview. Again, I just wish that reporters would press, and there's a few of them that do it, but they don't get the exclusive interviews. Like, this is the first time Trump has been off Fox. Somebody get a hold of Brian Stetler. He knows these things. Is it Stetler? I think it's Stetler. I don't know. I follow him on Twitter. Works for CNN. Does the CNN media buzz thing. All right, kids. That's all. That's about the rest of my voice. He does know a lot of words. Lost in PA. Good to see you. Airbus, good to see you in here as well. Yeah, he criticizes Biden's equilibrium. Something about Trump's equilibrium. Have you noticed? He always sits there like he's sitting on a toilet. See if we can get a shot of that. Yeah, even better once he's got the hands off. Okay, yeah. Thanks. There he is, right there. So there's Trump. Always sitting like he's sitting on a toilet. And usually, though, he'd have his phone tweeting in his hands. Yeah, that's about it for me, kids. I'm done. It's almost 7 o'clock, and I've got a bunch of stuff to do. I've got an audition to shoot. Believe it or not, there's an audition for something that's not a voiceover, so I've got to set up a camera. I've got to get a sweater. I've got to look nice and presentable, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to have to venture. I don't have a sweater where I am, so I'm going to have to venture into an actual store. But I have a nice KN95 mask, and I'm good. Hey, thank you very much for thanking me, Rich. As you can, I'm stuttering over my words. I only get a certain number of words per day, and I've used them all today. It's been a day. So if you'd like to support the broadcast, like my friend Rich there, and Stephanie, and who else is in here? Airbus, I don't know your real name, so I don't know whether you're a patron or not. But if you'd like to be, if you're not, go to KevinlyFather.com. You can donate to me there. Keep this sort of thing going. Someone's got to pay for these sweaters. And actually, if I can get this audition and get this commercial, it's a pretty good gig. And if anyone in here is pro-Trump, then you are also welcome to be a patron, because I'm much more of a fact checker than I am a pro-Democrat or anything else. I've never voted for a Clinton. I like truth, and I seek out the truth. Thank you, Lost in PA. Good job chatting. Rick. Okay, thank you, Rick. And now the other computer for me isn't updating the chat, so I can't see if anyone has said anything else. Let me shoot this. Don't tell me to break a leg. Oh, hey, thanks, Rick. I wasn't trying to pressure you, but yeah, if you want to become anything. I know a lot of people don't have any money right now, so if you don't have a job, don't contribute to this broadcast unless you're getting a lot of juicy unemployment. Then absolutely do. So there's a dollar club. You could donate $1 a month, $5, $10, $20,000. And if this is President Trump and you want to pledge $100,000 a month, I will stop this broadcast. I will sell my soul. I have no pride when it comes to that. Wendy's is out of hamburgers, folks. That's where we are right now. Oh, and then there's the 70,000 dead. Probably a lot more. I could go on about that. Yeah. Well, I don't want to end the broadcast on that. I want to end the broadcast on saying thank you, everybody, so much for watching with me. This makes it enjoyable for me. I don't know if enjoyable is really the right word. I have the best words. This makes it tolerable for me. Otherwise, I'm just screaming at the computer all by myself. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming into chat. If you're out there and you're not on the chat window, then Yeah, I wish Stephen would have donated the $100,000 kit. Yeah, we had a Trump supporter in here. They tend to yell a lot. It's all caps. Where do we donate? Well, Lost in PA, go to KevinlyFather.com. That will take you to a site called Patreon. And on Patreon, you can decide what level you want to donate at. And you can donate $1 or $500. And then you get your name on the nice little scroll down here. And I have a lot of patrons who I haven't put down there. It's just been the recent ones. So if you're watching and you've supported me in the past and I haven't gotten to you yet, I will. And I've got big plans for other videos as well. I'm just kind of getting set up in this location. I've got my light. I've got my green screen. And I'm still working on things. So, thank you. Again, everybody, I really appreciate it. And if you're watching and you're not in the chat, that's fine too. And listen, if anybody wants me to take a piece of this broadcast, like one of the fact checks or whatever, and put it up on Twitter or YouTube so that they can share it somewhere, just let me know. The easiest way to do it is just write to me on Twitter at KevinlyFather. Yeah, but you might not. Okay, the best way to get a hold of me is Patreon, because if you, even just $1, if you support me with $1, then you get kind of direct access to me, because I read all my Patreon emails. On Twitter, I don't always see all the tweets that I get. I don't, most of the DMs, but I have to be following you in order to see your DMs, or you have to write to me. I don't know. You can ask my daughter. But if you do follow me on Patreon, or if you do pledge to me, if you bow down before me on Patreon, then I will definitely follow you back on Twitter or wherever you want. And then you can communicate with me that way. And like I said, the Patreon emails come directly to me. So I'll be happy to communicate like that. Okay. If I get this commercial gig, I hope you don't stop the broadcast. I hope not, Rich. If it's not that big of a commercial. But if they were to say, like, hey, you need to stop doing that political stuff, I'd have to look at how much the commercial is worth. I gotta feed my family, guys. And then once the commercial was done, boom, right back at it. Because, Trump's going to win. So, he said so. So it's going to be another 4 years of this. I want to find out what you guys think about the whole Biden and the Tara Reade situation. I am not better than Stephen Colbert. Although, I got to say, right now, our audience is about the same size. So, is that right, everybody? There's one person in the room, and she's got her headphones in. She's not even paying any attention. So, or actually, she could be watching. I don't even know. She's got her headphones attached to her phone, but she's on delay. And no, she's paying no attention to me whatsoever. But that's the story of my life, kids. Anyway, guys, you can tell by my voice, it's running out. I gotta go. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm sure he's going to do something tomorrow. And that's Kevinly daughter. I speak much louder than any headphones. I do. And still, she didn't applaud. So, guys, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Love you. Mean it.